Who's a first timer? Who's a first timer here? Oh, put your hand in. You're not a first timer. It's a lot of people. That's awesome. Very cool. You know, middle of the summer. I'm enjoying this. We got a good crowd here. For those of you guys know, the format is very simple. 6 minutes, followed by about 15 minutes of Q&A. So ask good questions, because I know the first presenter is not going to be able to answer them very well. It's kind of slow. Well, without further ado, I want to introduce Ty Patton with McCurdy Auctions. So let's give him a round of applause.
All right, am I on? You guys doing all right? Is that working? Am I good? All right, awesome. Like Dick said, my name is Ty Patton. I'm the general counsel and an auctioneer at McCurdy Auction. And I'm ecstatic to be here to present. And ecstatic as someone who works in not a startup to have an excuse to get down there. And I love the Million Cups idea, so I've been kind of looking for a reason to be on the presenter side rather than the tender side. A little bit about McCurdy. We're founded in 1982. We're a full-service auction firm. We specialize in real estate. Typically, we do between 500 and 600 auctions every year. Last year, you can see 443 real estate auctions. And the reason I give you those numbers is just to say, we're not a startup. We're not. We're an established business. We're on the other side of one of the businesses that's been around, has a successful business model, but is trying not to be on the wrong side of disruption. We've said this internally is we don't want to be Ubered. We want to be Uber, not taxi drivers. That's where we're at. And so while it would be kind of easy for us to say, hey, we did 400 some real estate auctions last year, we could probably do pretty close to that again. Why rock the boat? There are, a couple other numbers that, at the end of the year last year, after a good year, that kind of were staring us in the face. And those numbers are, in America right now, demographics in which the majority are not internet users, 0. There is no demographic left in the country that are not regular internet users. The only question is whether it's a massive majority or just a pretty much a huge majority. It doesn't matter age, just ethnicity, education level, where you live. One of the things you think is, well, surely not your farmers, your farm sale guys out in the middle of nowhere that are 70 plus. No, something like 65, 70% of rural individuals, 65 plus, regular internet users. And so there's no one left that you're catering to by using newspaper only or staying offline. And so, kind of as an aside there, I'll get on my soapbox for a minute. If you are a business and your website is just designed to give someone a phone number and an address, because that's all you really need, that ship has sailed. These are regular internet users, so this means they're on a lot. They're sophisticated users, and so they expect content. They expect to be able to do business online. They've seen a lot of other sites. They've seen useful features. And so if they come to your site and all you have is here's a picture of our building that we built. Here's our phone number if you want to call us. And maybe a generic mission statement about with integrity, but also success. You're going to set the world on fire. They're bored. They're moving on. They've seen useful stuff. They want to conduct business online. And that means that second number is kind of a problem for us, because we have never, in our 15,000 plus auctions that we've done, used online bidding at all. Never integrated it. And so the marching orders for this year, kind of one of my projects was, how are you going to integrate it? Because it's not a question of when, or not a question of if, it's when. Anyone in any industry is having to conduct business online. People are used to buying things online. And while real estate has held out, we've been very lucky that we've been able to hold out, people aren't going to accept that forever. And there's competitors that are trying to do that at a national scale, or have stumbled upon that at a national scale. And so for us to continue to grow, for us to continue to be who we want to be in terms of a leader in the industry, we have to roll out online bidding. And so we dipped our toe in, I guess. And that was kind of the question as well. How is an established business, how do you do it, not rock the boat? How do you not throw your business model out because you have something that works? You want to kill the golden goose. And so, the temptation is, do we, maybe we'll we'll try a little personal property auction, sell some stuff online, we'll mimic eBay, we'll sell stuff that we're not really sure about or aren't that concerned with and just see how it works. But that's not what we do. And we're real estate specialists. We pride ourselves on selling real estate and being good at it. And so if we're going to have an online presence, we absolutely need to have it for our real estate sales. And so we integrated softly. We did not, it was kind of a soft open. We didn't, put a bunch of marketing behind it, press releases, all that. But we integrated starting June 9th. We did an investment auction that night. It was 46 properties. We offered all 46 of them, combination online and live. What that means is you've seen some of the models is you throw it online, it's a timed auction, you can leave your bid, come back a couple days later and see if you win. Maybe you can see some of the live auctions where you can listen to the auction or the bids are live, but you're on a computer screen and you're just watching the bids roll through or trying to hear. And we think there's power in the live auction experience. It's what we do. And so, our model online is to integrate online with live. And so what you're going to see of ours is you're going to watch the auction live. You're going to see live bids roll through. You can hear live bids roll through. You're going to see them on the screen. And when you bid online, that's treated exactly like a bid in person. We have someone clerking that auction live. They're going to yes that bid in. Auctioneer's going to take it, keep rolling, and you have direct competition between live and online. There's no disadvantage one way or the other. Again, we offered them that night. We had 42 registered bidders that night online, and without really any promotion, which I think proves that the market is demanding it. And we had, as we expected, an interesting mix of local bidders who want the convenience of being online. They don't want to have to sit in an auction. They want to look at their phone, sit at their desk, whatever, and be able to bid on the properties they want when they want. And we had out-of-state investors. We sold 3 that night, 3 properties that were sold online that night. And 2 of those were out of market investors. One's out of state, but he sees the value in Midwest real estate prices. He's got $200,000 to invest in rentals, and he sees that buys a lot more house in Kansas than it does in California. So that's in a nutshell, that's what we're doing. This is a startup within an established business. It's kind of one of my passion projects. And we're going to continue to grow it, but now it's to the point where the cat's out of the bag, we can't hide it, and so we've got to kind of embrace it and learn as we go and make it work. If we had time, I'd like to do a demonstration video of how it works, but just briefly, it's fully integrated to our site. This is our website. This is our property page. If you ever looked at property online, it looks very familiar, but now there's an online bidding link, and that's that simple. You click on it. You're off and running. Those are our active sales coming up right now. Sure.
Thank you, Ty.
Yeah.
We're going to do a quick question and answer, 15 minutes or so. So you'll have plenty of time. If you have a question, please raise your hand. I'll come to you. Maybe something else. If somebody could ask a really nice opening question, that'd be good.
Ty, could you show me in greater detail how that works?
What you're going to see is our active sales. I took this yet. This is from our site yesterday. These are all ag land sales that we're going to do online. Again, with out-of-state, buyers kind of demand that. It's a national market, not a local market, especially on investment property and ag land. And there's your individual site or individual page. You request a bid. You're going to sign up and create an account. For ag land, for very high-end properties, we are going to require your earnest money up front to verify who you are. And then other than that, that's it. I approve you, and you're ready to live stream the auction bid. It's as simple as we can make it, because our entire desire with online is we don't want to lose anything that live auction offers. And so we want to the best extent possible, offer that live auction experience regardless of where you're at. That's our website, the direct link to the online, and then like I said, it's integrated to the website just in general.
Is there a question over here?
Yep.
Well, I know that by attending the auction, they've got you there. If you bid it, you've got to have your $3,500 check with you right there. Then, if you're online, how do you verify that the buyer actually has dollars ready to put in jeopardy for the earnest money deposit?
What we're doing on the investment property, and if any of you haven't bought our investor property, just your rentals, typically that earnest money is $3,500. That's due immediately. You last hand in the air, you sign the bid acknowledgement, we're going to need you $3,500 that night. Online, obviously, they're not right there. What we will do is, if you're the high bidder, we're going to immediately send you an email confirmation saying congratulations. And we're going to dot loop, if you aren't familiar with that. It's just, we're going to send you contracts electronically. You're going to sign electronically immediately, and you're going to either wire or bring funds down no later than noon the next day. And it's in the terms. If you don't do it, we're immediately going to turn around and sell it to the contenders. You're just going to miss out. Now, obviously, that's the hesitation. I can tell you, being an established business, there's some old school guys, some old school thought, and there's this kind of traditional thought in the auction industry that I'd rather have $10,000 in the front row than $20,000 in California. And I get that. And we want to balance that. But from our seller's perspective, if you tell them that, they say, I'd really like to have that $20,000, go get it. So that's how we're going to handle it. And that may, like I said, this is a new venture for us, and so we have to try to move those around and try to find additional safeguards. We will, but we didn't have any problem. Those three that bought online had money to immediately sign contracts. They were ecstatic for the convenience.
Okay, so I'm assuming that there are outfits like yours all over the country in different local markets. Do you know of any that are doing the integration model that you're doing?
A couple, but there's really not. This sounds kind of braggy, but there's not a lot of auction firms in the country that have our model in terms of real estate. If you talk to some of the big, kind of local, back east or south or whatever auction firms that specialize in real estate, what you'll hear them say is like, we had a great year last year. It was phenomenal. We did 100 auctions. 100 auctions for us would be devastation. Like, we'd be laying people off. And I know that sounds it's hard not to, I am bragging, sorry. But our model for real estate, our specialization in real estate, we're very much ahead of curve on that. Now, it's the fastest growing area of the auction industry because people are figuring out that it works phenomenally to get not only fast results, but good results for real estate. You see, if you have a collector car that's incredibly sought after, you're not going to throw that on Craigslist. You're going to take it to the Beacon, you're going to take it to Barrett Jackson. You're going to sell that, 1971 Mustang for $252,000. They would never think of setting a ceiling on that and just trying to sell it traditionally. And we've figured that out kind of early for real estate, and the Wichita market had figured that out as well. And so in terms of people doing the volume, we're focusing primarily on real estate. There's not a lot of those. There's a few around. And to your second part of the question, a couple of those are, and I've also seen the writing on the wall and are saying, hey, we're going to exist. We're going to continue to have our business model in 2016 and beyond. We got to go online. And some of them are doing something similar to us. Some of them are more on the just throw it online, have a timed auction. And maybe something will change at some point, but we're auctioneers. We believe in the auction process. And if you're just selling something online, are you still auctioning it? And kind of, but I think you lose a little bit of it.
That's wonderful that you saw those statistics and actually acted upon them, even with some of the old school thoughts in there. So congratulations on that. One question in regard to the implementation of the website with the live auction portion on it. I understand there's probably some live streaming information and details that can be complicated if they're gotten wrong. Who did you have do the website, and how do you handle the legal complications that might arise from? Sure.
No. And as general counsel, that was one of the things that we had that conversation. Everyone stared at me and said, hey, you better figure that out. Our website maintenance and design is Huber's Communications here in town. They build our site, and we work them pretty hard because we're a big believer in constant improvement and adding functions to the site. And so there's not a month that goes by that we don't send them some tickets and say, hey, could this happen? Sometimes they say, no, it's not real, but sometimes they can do it. And then we use, there's a back-end software provider that has built some of this, the actual live streaming or the live auction software called NextLot. They're out of South Carolina, I believe. They're very good to work with. And again, we worked them pretty hard because we did not want just an off-the-shelf product. We wanted to integrate it. We wanted to have the right look and feel. We're very particular. Like I said, our goal was to get online in 2016. We had an investment auction in March that we thought about. but it wasn't right. And so it took till June to get it right. On the legal side, if you look at kind of to the extent there is an industry standard, this is kind of new in terms of the live auctions, live bidding. What you're really doing is treating it like what we call bidder errors. And then in a live auction on site, one of the things you're going to say in your terms is, we're not going to run your bid, we're not going to treat you wrong, we're not going to bid against phantom bids, but we can't be responsible if you get confused and bid on something you don't mean to. And that's basically the mirror for online. It's like we love to offer this for your convenience, but if you're on there and you bid and then you cut out because of software on your end or some issue, and you wind up buying it, like that's not our seller's problem. I mean, that's not fair to them. And knock on wood, we haven't had any problems yet. We had someone call and complain and say that our internet was slow, and we have someone not only clerking it, but also just on tech that's constantly watching and checking the live stream, full time if there are issues. And we had our gal check. She said, no, it's fine, no issues. And then it turned out this guy was out in the middle of nowhere on a dial-up or Pixius or something. So I mean that's a limitation, but that's only so much we can do. You can lead a horse to water, I guess. But so no, and at some point there's probably going to be some disputes about exactly the legal issues of online bidding or cutout or whatever, and I hope that's somebody else's problem and that we can learn from that court case and not be the test case. But I mean, all we can really do is try to belt and suspenders to say we're going to have the best technology available, the best process available. We're going to constantly work to upgrade it, and then try to cover ourselves with the fine print, which as an attorney I love.
So I think I saw a desktop platform for that. Is it mobile friendly? And are you guys developing an app for that as well?
Yes, it is mobile friendly. That is the next stage of the rollout. We have we're working with a software provider on that. We should have a McCurdy online bidding app at some point. That's going to, it basically is going to take you right into the online bidding. And that's one of the things in terms of the convenience for your local investors that still want this. We had people at the auction in June that were sitting in the room, but we're looking at their phone bidding because they have an investor that they don't want to see across the room bidding. And so, if you've ever been to a farm sale, you have farmers that all want to just do this, and we'll sit at a table together in a cafe and try not to let you know they're bidding. And so, if we can get those guys to use their phone, I guess they'd be able to do it. But no, right, that's the next stage of the rollout is an app for sure.
So I have a couple of questions about the legal aspect from a different perspective.
Sure.
So it's pretty fortunate that you're here, which I believe the first time I've ever said that about an attorney. So clearly the trend of this is, is it going to be a national organization doing this? And I guess I was wondering about that. Don't you have to be licensed in various jurisdictions, and so there's some kind of structural barriers to going nationwide with this?
Right, that's exactly right. And that's actually, we could go, I love, this is one of my kind of soapboxes of the real estate industry being drugged into the 21st century as opposed to embracing it. And the real estate industry has been very lucky because it's a local market. So all the things that have happened for national vendors and technology and all that, we've kind of got to sit it out. And that is finally kind of changing. And so there are barriers, but some of you might be familiar with auction.com. That's a national, a national vendor that is selling online. And auction.com, they have to cooperate with a local, licensed broker of some kind. And that's been kind of an issue for them. Brokers don't love that. When a national place shows up and just throws something online and never puts a sign in the yard, doesn't show up to the local board meetings and all that. And so they've had some pushback, but auction.com figured out that it's worth it because they were designed, I'm not saying anything, to trash your competitor. They were designed to dump foreclosed properties for national lenders. That was the National Bank of America didn't want to, market and pay everyone. They said, we got too much inventory, just dump it. And then auction.com figured out, yeah, this works great to get rid of distressed property, but actually we're getting better values than we should. And then this model would probably work for nice properties. And so that's, if you were ever on auction.com site, you'll see 10X. They're just trying to rebrand themselves so that they're not tainted, they can sell nice stuff. But the limitation is, if you're not local, if you don't have any relationship with that local market, are you losing something? by just throwing it online. And that's, frankly, that's one of the things that we're trying to balance in our model. It would be easy to say, okay, we're doing online, everything that's 50,000 under, we're just going to throw online and let it go. But we think there's, some benefit to a local expert. I think there's a benefit to having an auction in real life. Some of the relationships we've built with investors and our regular buyers and all that. So we want to, as much as we can, take our successful model, the way we treat people, the way we do things, and the success we have, and we'll grow it as big as we can online, but we're never going to sacrifice. If it says, well, we can dump properties and not do a good job, if you get into 5 states, well, we'll stay in 2. We'll stay in 3. I mean, that's going to be our ceiling. But I think, incrementally, there's an opportunity there to continue to grow and find people that you trust locally that buy into your model and grow that way, as opposed to just say, tell us your property, we'll Google somebody, throw their name on it, and sell it, in your market.
So looking at the company as more the startup than the established company, so
The startup within the established company.
And I think part of the startup is succession plan, next generation.
There's all sorts of fun stuff going on with McCurdy, sure.
So looking at a startup and some of the legal implications, is it, do you look at doing some acquisitions as far as taking those 100 auctions and they don't want it, they don't get it? So is there a good opportunity for you to go that way?
That's always a conversation. I mean, I don't think anyone here is, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. When you're a startup, you always get to the point, or a growing company, where somebody either wants to buy you or you can buy someone else, and is your growth just for the sake of growth? I can't say for sure that we would never, approach that opportunity if the right one was there, but it kind of gets back to our, plan for growth. We're never just going to get another company to say, now we're doing 750 auctions a year. Like, the only way that would work is if we found someone that mirrored the way we do business, that totally bought in, someone that we trusted, and it was just a perfect fit. We don't have shareholders, which is nice, so we don't have to say, we hit our growth pattern, and so we're never going to be in a position, knock on wood, where we need to go get somebody just to say that we're growing. And so that would be a very unique opportunity, but yeah, I mean, we think we have a good model, and if somebody, if that perfect kind of marriage is there, we're not going to say no to more business.
Right over here.
I have a question about your technology. You said that you had a third party build it. Is it third party software, or do you own that software?
Well, we're kind of fighting about that a little bit. It's just third party software, but there's a point where they have an off the shelf. Here's your this is going to show my age. Here's your CD. Install your software. But we're not necessarily, because we're all very particular, we're pushing them to kind of build stuff. And so, do we own just this underlying supporting software? No. But do we, some of that gray area between what we're custom building that is work for hire to make it perfectly match what we want to do? Probably. Probably. But
That's a bad situation to be in, friend. But
I don't love that, but that's one of the things, anywhere in the software world can tell you, it's easy to say who owns that truck, well, it's right there. But when it comes to software and you're starting to fight about, code or who built what or whether it was pre-existing or what they've done, what you brought, I mean, it's inevitably messy. And
so then my question on top of that is, if you don't own the software outright and it is a third party who do it, what's to stop other local successful auction companies like yours starting this in lots of other markets, and then you end up competing on a national scale?
Well, nothing's to stop them from trying to do it. And like I said, there are people at a national level that are doing it. There's some in the South. There's a large auction company that is frankly ahead of us a little bit in terms of online. But the question is always going to be, just getting online to me is not enough. And that's a trap too, to say, oh, as long as we just use technology buzzwords and do things online, it'll be successful. We still have to be good at what you do. And so that goes back to, we're very proud of our process, not just the online process, but the way we assess value of properties, the way we market those properties, what we do internally. I mean, our marketing department, consistently is one of the best in the nation. We've won something like 56 first place or second place awards in the national marketing competitions. And so we're always going to be That's going to be our big value. This is a convenience tool for people. It's another option to open up more markets because we want to do a good job for our sellers. But what we're selling more than just a piece of software is our expertise, 35, 200 years combined experience in the auction industry and a proven method to, find value, get that best value. And this is just a piece of that. And so, we expect competitors. We have competitors now, not online, and so this is going to be no different. But I think you have to not sacrifice your product to get online. Because if your product's good and you're online, you're going to beat people who are just online to be online.
I know in the beginning you said that you weren't looking at real estate, like estate sale type auctions, but if you guys really nail down this with the technology and your marketing to get the traction following when you're online, have you thought about, to give me some hope, just doing some like curated, not 15-page liquidations of whole estates, but some more curated 3 or 4 pages of nicer stuff type sales?
Sure. Well, and when I say, we're not looking at personal property, we do personal property. We do personal property auctions. Like I said, we did 47, 50 last year. And so it's not to say that we're not going to go online with this, because this model, I think people are going to demand it. But our focus was, if you call yourself a real estate specialist and you say we have online sales, and then someone says, awesome, I want to sell my real estate online, you say, well, we don't have that yet. Do you really have online sales? And so we went with the biggest piece of our business first, are going to work backwards, because that's, like I said, that's our bread and butter. We're passionate about, and we think we're very good at selling real estate at auction. And so this is another piece of that. But anyone that's going to do personal property auctions and continue to do them, the next 10 years, I don't think there's any auction company in the country that doesn't recognize some level they're going to have to be online for that too. Because it's the same thing. Bidders demand that convenience even more than real estate, because you may have 7 hours of tools that you're selling, and while you watch that compressor at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you're not coming to sit all day. I'm taking a full day off work. So that's absolutely on the table. But first we're going to refine our primary product.
All right. Well, I thought the internet was a fad, but I guess not.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Last question is, what as a community can we do to help you?
Well, I would say there's kind of 2 pieces of that. First of all, I would love people to look at, use the system. Like I said, you can just view the auction. You don't have to get on and buy. And we understand that auctions can be kind of intimidating if you've never bought there before. So this is also kind of a tool to say, I may want to buy an investment property at auction, but I'm not going to go register and sit in the row. That's too much. I want to see a couple of them. So we want people to use this. We want people to use the platform, look at auctions, see if it's something they're interested in. And then 2 is just think about auctions. They're a good fit for a lot more properties and a lot more people than you think. They're a great way to buy, they're a great way to sell. And so you have it in the back of your mind, and this is another way to do that, make it convenient. But know it's there and use it and abuse it. If you run into problems, I want to know. We're going to refine it. So I want people on there and try to crash it. So we can our software provider.
Let's try to crash it. Thank you, Ty. I appreciate it. Presenter, will you give me $1 for it? Will you give me 2? Will you give me 3? Will you give me 4?
I will not sell this online.
Thanks very much. Welcome again, all of you, to 1 Million Cups. We have our presenter mugs that we give away to our presenters, but then we also give them away to lucky people in the audience. And I'm trying to I was supposed to think of a way to do this before. So, Jake, how should we give this one away? Socks? We did socks. Socks is old. Underwear. No, I'm kidding. Okay, who has been here a lot? Who's been to every 1 Million Cups? I can't even raise my hand because I've missed a couple. All right, well, that's lame. Who's only missed 1 Million Cups? Okay, well, I already have one of these. So who's only missed 2 1 Million Cups? Jake, you don't matter. Oh, no, right here. Well, you already have one of these too. Do you want another one? No, come here. Now, you can choose, do a trick to choose someone, an illusion? Yeah, make it disappear. choose someone to take home a prisoner cup.
I just toss it over like this.
I'm glad you didn't do that. I was like, oh, watch out.
Just choose somebody random. Over here.
In the back?
Like,
Okay.
Right here.
Oh, come on up though.
She's gotta come up.
Yeah, you have, no, yeah, you, thank you very much, Curtis.
Sure.
Yes, Lacey. I didn't know her name, she had a name tag. That's why we have name tags, everybody, so you can get to know everyone. That was what I was building to, was the illustration about why name tags are important. Lacey, thank you very much. Tell me why you come to 1 Million Cups.
I love the culture there. It's very neat to come every week and start to see different people who've been here more than a few times and start to make connections. It's fun.
Great, thanks. You can clap for her, that's fine. A couple of announcements about events that are coming up. Obviously, 1 Million Cups next Wednesday at 9, starting at 9. But then also this weekend, ICT Game Jam is happening, July 15th. It's at the NCAT Center, which is on North Webb Road. If you don't know what a game jam is, I'd explain it to you, but you can find out a lot more online. Basically, it's like a really fun way to build a video game, and if you've ever wanted to build a video game, you can do that. If you don't have any idea how to do that, go there and find out. That's the whole thing. It's actually free. Additionally, on the 21st, July 21st at 4 p.m. to 5:30 is the E2E opening celebration at E2E headquarters, 110 South Main, Suite 101. So in the next couple weeks, those are the big events. There's a lot of other events that are actually taking place. You can find out about those at startupwichita.com/events. And if you have an event, you can post an event there. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Martin Pringle for giving us the equipment to make all the coffee that you guys are drinking, to Reverie for giving us the coffee that we run water over to make the coffee that you're drinking, and Nitro Joe's, who's going to be back next week, I believe. Yes, Nitro Joe's next week, and Sunflower Bank, who's helping sponsor that aspect of the coffee, and Innovar for providing the live stream to everyone watching on the internet. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Ed O'Malley. Oh, there he is. To talk to us about the Kansas Leadership Center.
Great, thank you. Good morning, my name is Ed O'Malley.
Keep going.
Almost.
You good?
All right. I am Ed O'Malley, President and CEO of the Kansas Leadership Center. I'm still not on, am I?
I'm working on it. Keep talking.
That guy gets my time, right? This is what we call a technical problem if you've been involved with the Leadership Center. It's not an adaptive challenge, it's a technical problem. I think you need a better expert.
I would agree with that, Snap. Thank you.
You want me to use the handheld?
Yes, that's a great idea.
That's why we have it.
That's why we have Jake.
Let me take ties, that's okay.
That'll work too. See, all these great ideas. This is the culture Lacey was talking about, everyone.
Test, 1, 2, test, 1, 2, test, 1, 2, 3. We're good?
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Ed O'Malley. I serve as President and CEO of the Kansas Leadership Center, but I'm not here to talk to you about the Kansas Leadership Center writ large. A little bit of background though. It started 10 years ago. I left politics and government to move to Wichita to start KLC. You might be familiar with our building at the corner of Douglas and Topeka. Our mission is to transform the civic culture of Kansas, to create a culture of leadership in communities, organizations all across Kansas. We work with thousands of Kansans. Most of them are heavily involved in civic life. And we'll keep doing that. But today I want to talk to you really about two things. One, the idea of a not-for-profit focusing on being entrepreneurial. We're nonprofit. That doesn't mean we're for loss, right? So I want to talk about us as an example of that, not that we're a perfect example. And I also want to talk about an expression of that entrepreneurial spirit within the Kansas Leadership Center. One of the initiatives we have under play that we are doing to push ourselves to be creative, to be entrepreneurial, to grow, to reach more people, and ultimately to have a better chance of accomplishing our civic mission. You might know this already, but companies spend gobs and gobs of money on leadership development, and most of it just flat out doesn't work. Studies have shown that. We believe that. Most folks intuitively kind of know that. We set out to create the best civic leadership training possible. But about 3.5 years ago, we began to challenge ourselves to say, what if we didn't think about the grant funding we've received as a grant? What if we instead began to think of it as almost like social venture capital? And that we should have an expectation of ourselves to figure out how to leverage what we've done so far, reach more people, generate more resources so we can accomplish our mission more effectively and more efficiently. And so we started to focus on the business community and organizational life rather than just the civic community. Most training we think doesn't work, leadership training, because they're going about it wrong. They think that leadership is a position. We think it's an activity. We all know lots of people who have fancy titles but are pathetic at exercising leadership. And we probably also know lots of people who have no fancy title but exercise tremendous leadership. Right? So we think people go about it wrong, and that's one of the key reasons why most training doesn't work. We believe anyone can lead, anytime, anywhere. You don't have to have the title. You do have to have some skill. You have to have some understanding of how do you mobilize people to tackle tough challenges. Right? So we believe your organization, other organizations are full of people waiting to lead, wanting to lead. They might not know how. And this is what we're finding across Kansas as we work in civic life. But we believe it's true in organizational life too. So we decided to try to package what we've been learning over the last decade related to leadership development in civic life and try to figure out what of it translates into organizational life. And we want to try to figure out how to create the best company-wide solution for leadership development. And company-wide is really critical here. Most leadership programs look like the image on the left of the screen. The leadership program is about the hierarchy. It's about helping the people at the top of the hierarchy or helping the people who are on their way to being at the top of the hierarchy. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, per se, but we don't believe you create a culture of leadership by that type of focus. We think leadership, a culture of leadership is created when you get an image more like the right side of the screen, right? A company-wide culture. In essence, it's what we're trying to do across the state of Kansas in civic life. And we understand that to be, in a state of 2.9 million people, we understand that to be a 15, 20, 25, 30-year mission. We think in an organization, it can be a much quicker mission. But it's the same premise, a company-wide and organization-wide culture of leadership. You can't just focus on a select few. So we tried to then think about, well, how do we do this? Because most leadership training is incredibly expensive and selective. It's for the select few. And part of that is because the way it's structured, it's not affordable to take your company of 74 people and give access to all of them for leadership training that actually leads to them being different people afterwards, not just a motivational moment. So we set out to try to figure out how do we create a program that combines in-person experiences. This is our town hall room at the Kansas Leadership Center a few blocks away. How do we mix that with some high-tech technology, some leveraging the internet, just like McCurdy Auction is trying to figure out how to do? We're trying to do that as well. How do we leverage these things together? And Kitten, now my technology over here is breaking. That's all right. We'll pause and see if it catches up. It's not advancing. But, so how do we leverage in-person experiences? How do we leverage technology to help? How do we create the opportunity for all 77 members of your organization or company to learn about leadership and exercise leadership differently? We came up with an experience called YourLeadershipEdge.com. So Your Leadership Edge is a new brand of the Kansas Leadership Center. It's the brand we use when working with organizations and companies. The Kansas Leadership Center is the brand we use when working with civic life. It's not that. Don't worry about it. We've got to be able to adapt, right? Kenton? Nice, nice. Or Kenton just fixes it. So how do we mix in-person with high-tech? How do we make it available anytime so that it works for employees who can't? Most leadership training is you go for 3 days at a time. You go for a week at a time. You go for 3 months at a time. Not every organization can do that for all their people. How do we create a program that creates an ongoing commitment to all of those people, not just to the select few? These are the questions we've been asking ourselves, the questions we've been trying to figure out. The Your Leadership Edge experience, in essence, tries to blend a personal experience at KLC with an online presence, YourLeadershipEdge.com, with some different old-fashioned hard copy resources. And what we think we figured out is a method where we can say to an organization, whether they have 200 employees or 15 employees, give us some time and give us access to your people, and at a reduced, at an affordable price, we'll help you create a culture of leadership in your organization. We love your thoughts and helping us make this shift and getting people to think about leadership.
I'm going to lead us into question and answer
Love
time if that works.
That's perfect.
I don't know if you have any other slides, but
Last one.
I bet we could figure that one out too. So questions, if you have a question, please raise your hand and we'll come to you and I'm sure Ed will answer it. Does anybody have a question?
All right, so what's the magic sauce?
The magic sauce to
your training. I mean, I've heard a lot of generality that I want to know, sort of the elevator pitch. What am I getting different from you that I would not be getting from some other organization?
So the tricky thing about leadership is it's such a trendy topic, right? It's almost everywhere. When I started the Leadership Center about 10 years ago, my mindset was that most of the leadership training I had experienced did nothing to prepare me for legislative life. I was a member of the legislature, and I would assume, much like starting a company from scratch, these tough environments where the leadership pressures are real and it's hard to solve problems. So our mindset was from the beginning, how do we create something that works? And how many alums of the Kansas Leadership Center are here? Just hands real quick, a handful of people. It'd be better to ask them, Bob, than me, frankly. But I think a piece of it is, it's a small set of ideas. Where most leadership training, you'll go and you'll get exposed to a gazillion different ideas and frameworks. We have 4 competencies we teach, and that's it. And part of the secret sauce in that is these 4 ideas. And Janelle, can you pass around those cards and start distributing those? These 4 simple ideas. On one hand, you look at them and you say, that's it? That's all? Just 4 ideas? On the other hand, Christina, you're smiling, you get the idea. On the other hand, there's power in saying, well, what if we could get all 274 people in our company oriented to a simple set of 4 ideas? What if we could get, on the civic side, a state of 2.9 million people, the people who are civically engaged, oriented to a small set of ideas? So Bob, it'd be better to ask them, but I think a part of the answer is we actively chose to be simple, and I think there's power in that. I appreciate the question. And
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think there's a lot of good leadership material out there, but you just hit the thing is, how do you get people to actually take action on those principles? Because most people can be great leaders, but most of them know those principles, but don't apply them to their business.
yeah, which is another way of saying they don't really value them, right? So because we do what we value. And we think one of the biggest problems we think in leadership development, one of them I put up on the screen, that people think leadership is about position. So therefore, we're really training people on how to be in the hierarchy, which is fine, but it's not necessarily leadership. I think the other big problem, Andy, to your point, is that people often assume that leadership is a technical set of tasks. That if we could just learn the moves, we're going to be fine. We think leadership, our experience now after 10 years of working with thousands and thousands of people, is that leadership is much more below the neck. It's more of a way of being. So the challenge then is if leadership is more of a way of being, and we know that if you come and you spend a week with us, okay, all of our data, all of our research tells us that probably about 80% of the people who will come and spend significant time with us will have a significant transformation in how they lead. What we're trying to figure out with this Your Leadership Edge experience is how, when you can't get a company or an organization to take 77 people and take them all through that week-long experience, how do you still create an experience that works below the neck rather than just in their head? That's frankly one of the reasons we were excited to talk with you today, because we don't have that completely figured out. And we would love your help in helping us figure out that piece of the secret sauce. Well, part of the secret sauce is we get them and we spend a lot of time with them. Now we're trying to figure out how do we still make something happen but not have the same extensive personal exposure. Yes, sir.
In trying to create an entrepreneur environment, I myself would love to go do that, but you can take a week out terrifies me.
Exactly.
And it does many people that I know. And
right.
So how do you market to that, and how do you try to teach that, or are you able to accommodate times a little bit differently, or do you have to be in that experience?
Yeah, so the idea with this Your Leadership Edge experience, and again, we're in our effort to try to be a member of the entrepreneurial community of Wichita, we're struggling to figure it out. We're not going to claim we've got it all figured out. But our thought was, what if we could dramatically reduce the amount of kind of in-person experience? So rather than being with us for a week, somebody might spend half a day with a group of people. But then create this online experience that you can find at yourleadershipedge.com, which relies on a lot of 1-hour live video conferences, video conversations. They're not webinars. They're very interactive. And then you couple that with some real old-fashioned resource materials, books and things like that. Can you create an environment where over time, a business owner and her or his employees can begin to all kind of soak into a culture of these ideas? That's what we're trying to figure out. But we're leveraging live online experiences to be a piece of it. Yeah.
Besides branding, how would you say this program is different from what you do in the civic arena?
Yeah, appreciate the question. The civic arena, which would be a fun conversation another time, but it's going great. We're having a couple thousand people a year come into our center. We have probably 20 to 40,000 people throughout Kansas being taught these ideas in different civic leadership programs. We have 25 people from Africa right now who are at KLC this week learning these ideas. It's just a thrill. I think the main difference is we're not using civic case studies in this. We're not orienting all the conversation around civic life in this, and also the delivery. We're trying to figure out how do we do little small bites of training, most of it online, and have the same power as when we bring together a group of civic actors for 3 days, 4 days, 5 days at a time. The main difference is the accessibility, I would say.
Over here. Yeah, you said that this is more affordable or easier for larger groups to be a part of.
Right.
Can you tell me a little bit how the business model works and maybe how the pricing works? Is it by company or by individual? Or?
Yeah, you bet. So our idea behind this, and again, we're still trying to fully figure this out. And our sense was if we wait until we have it totally figured out, we'll never get started. And my guess is all the entrepreneurs in the group kind of can relate to that. So our original idea was that this would be an experience that would be maybe a couple $100s per person. Highly affordable when compared to most leadership training. So if you went out to the Center for Creative Leadership in Colorado, which is a great organization, they have 5 campuses around the world, you might pay $6,000 or $7,000 for a 5-day experience. If you went out to the Harvard Business School, you might spend $11,000 or $12,000 for the same length of an experience. If you hired a really high-priced consultant to come in and work on site with you, you might pay something equivalent, which is another reason why it's usually just for those top people on the flow chart. So our mindset was, what if we could dramatically reduce the cost and dramatically increase the exposure? So the business model, on one hand, is to leverage the civic investment. Okay? So again, trying to be entrepreneurial as a nonprofit, we have this incredible civic investment that we're about a $4 to $5 million a year organization. So how do we leverage what we're learning there and spin off things from it that we think we could develop resources and income streams from to support our civic mission? So the whole idea is to do this to support the civic mission, to grow the civic mission. That's why we're doing it. We believe in our civic mission. We believe it's possible, but we believe we also need to grow our resources to fully accomplish it. I'm rambling a bit on your question, but the idea is a few $100s per person per year is roughly the cost. Our cost to that isn't, our expense in servicing that really is pretty minimal because we're leveraging the civic investment. The intellectual capital had already been developed. The teaching methods had already been developed. So we're trying to figure out what do we have, what are we really good at, how do we spin it off, make some money off it to spend on our civic mission. Hope that helps.
Good morning. You mentioned you've creatively constructed this process of delivery and you're trying to quantify the impact in person after the theoretical approach. Is there a practical component to the environment you're trying to use?
Say more.
Is there a practical component where you're trying to encourage them to apply it?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. If you've been to KLC before, and if you're curious, again, you get better answers from the people who raised their hands a minute ago than from me. But if you've been to KLC before, you know that everything is about application. So people come with a leadership challenge, and the whole experience revolves around applying the ideas that are on that little card to the current, real, present leadership challenge. We're trying to build that into this online experience as well. It's a little trickier because somebody comes for an hour at a time and their leadership challenge might change, but everything is applied. We really hate theoretical, even though sometimes we're not good at knowing how to speak in untheoretical ways.
Yeah, is there any difference between the style of leadership that you're teaching here and maybe military leadership, or the leadership that you would find in a military environment?
What's the difference, do you think? Is that the question? I'm not a military man, so I might not be the best person to answer that. I think there are traditional notions that military teaches a type of command and control leadership. My experience in working with my colleagues in leadership development who are in the military is that that's changing rather dramatically. And that they are understanding that leadership is more of an activity. It needs to be more fluid throughout a platoon, throughout a unit. Men and women here might be able to speak better to that who are from the military. We actually have had conversations with folks up at the Fort Leavenworth Command College about the type of leadership development they're doing. I think what you're beginning to see is these types of ideas, the ideas on those cards, the idea that leadership is an activity, and specifically it's the activity of mobilizing people to solve daunting problems. That concept, I think, is taking hold in many large institutions, and we hope small organizations throughout Kansas and elsewhere as well. So my hope is that there's a lot of similarities as time goes by.
So you mentioned earlier, like about the cost, talking about maybe a per year type of thing. So do you see this as more of an ongoing type of program as opposed to a set period of time?
Yeah, I think anything that has to do with leadership can be of value, and our experience, and part of it is we had this great beginning, right? We started 10 years ago with an incredible grant from our amazing funder, the Kansas Health Foundation. And that gave us the time to think. It gave us the time to really figure out how do we do this. And what we discovered in those early years is that nobody learns anything transformative about leadership in a 1 hour segment, or we think even in a 1 day segment. That it's an experience over weeks and months and maybe even years. And so part of the belief is that for this to work, we need to work with an organization, a company, for a period of time, a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years, to really get to that image of all the people understanding their leadership capacity rather than just a few. So we think time is a critical element. And that's another reason that this is tricky. We're having trouble communicating to organizations with this Your Leadership Edge experience, communicating why this should be a 2 to 3 year project, rather than they often want a quick hit, give me a weekend type leadership retreat and we'll be good. We're having trouble communicating the difference there.
Ed, great conversation today. Because individual mentorship is such a strong component of these types of programs, when you're doing the online, how would you engage from an individual mentorship to help these individuals as they go through the process and then afterwards?
Yeah, I appreciate the question, Gary. It's hard, because one of those of you who have been to a KLC program know that the relationship between our faculty and our coaches and the participants is a key to the experience. And we're trying to figure out how do you replicate that in a 1 hour video chat. I don't think we've got it figured out yet, frankly. I think a piece of the belief is a substitute for that relationship with the KLC faculty or coach might be if everybody in your company or organization is going through a similar experience, that you would find more localized mentors and help, maybe across the organization. But we don't have the answer perfect yet.
I'm a quote guy, so what is your favorite leadership quote?
Steal it.
I think my favorite leadership quote would be from a friend and mentor, Marty Linsky, who's Harvard Kennedy School, author of several books about leadership. And he talks about how leadership is disappointing your own people at a rate they can absorb. Leadership is disappointing your own people at a rate they can absorb. And we believe that that's baked into the bones of KLC because leadership is about mobilizing people to tackle the toughest things going on in the organization, community, system, whatever it might be. And usually those toughest things have been there a long time. And usually they've been there a long time because people would rather not work on them. They'd rather not even admit they exist. And part of leadership, we think, is disappointing people at a rate they can absorb They'd rather you tell them everything is perfect and you're doing a great job and you just keep doing exactly what you're doing right now and everything will be great. But leadership is often about saying, we're not good enough. We got to step it up. We're failing. How can we get better? So leadership is disappointing your own people at a rate that knows
I've been to several leadership programs myself, and the one that was most impactful for me that I thought was a group of people were taking, like you said, the challenge of trying to get people to integrate, but they came in and they said, we're going to offer, like, me and 3 other guys were asked if we would take the program, that there would maybe be some incentives in it, rewards. But then on top of that, it was up to us 3 to give feedback on each other. And we're holding each other accountable, like mentor accountability groups inside a company, whatever.
Right.
Because what ended up happening is if I didn't read my book or whatever that week, and I came back to the 20-minute meeting or whatever, the coffee deal before work or whatever, then you could tell who had not done the material or their hour video or whatnot because they couldn't input.
Right, right.
But it was me and 3 of my buddies or whatever else. We were challenging each other in a way that.
So it gets to, let me just get back to my favorite slide in the whole group here. It gets back to this idea of if we can make leadership something that is leadership development, something that an entire group is thinking about and working on. What you're describing happens. Okay? And if we do our job really well, if the ideas are sound, and the ideas are on that card, the back of that card has the heart of the ideas, 4 competencies. If the ideas are sound, and our teaching methods are successful, then there should be a culture within your organization of accountability, of intervening, of disappointing people at a rate they can absorb on behalf of a higher purpose. Right? If the ideas aren't solid or the teaching methods aren't successful, then that all breaks down. We think we figured out that recipe for when you come spend 3 days with us. We're working hard to figure it out in a less intrusive way. I think what you're saying is right on. How do we get that not just with 3 or 4, but with a company of 77, a company of 800, a company of 12, whatever it might be?
Thank you, Ed. What does community can we do to help you?
Yeah, the main thing that I would love, I thought about this question ever since you asked at the time, was if there are 2 or 3 organizations or companies in this room or this community that would love to say, Ed, yeah, let us try it. Let us be your experiment on this. We would love that. And I would even say, look, at the end of a year or something like that, if you think it was valuable, you pay us what you think you want to pay us. But I believe that we can figure this out, but we need some people who aren't spending their days thinking about leadership development. We need some people who are thinking their days about trying to figure out how to create successful organizations to say, yeah, let us try this with you in the way you're imagining and help you make it better. So if there are 2 or 3 of you out there, let me know.
All right. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you very much.
One of a kind presenters cup. Maybe you can share it with everybody in your organization. Take a look at that.
Yes.
Collaboration. Really good leadership. You go last. Leaders eat last, right? Well, thank you for coming to 1 million cups. We really appreciate it. This will be the end of not only 1 million cups, but Seth Etter's hair is going away today, apparently. He's going to be available for selfies later on, he told me. So if you want to get a picture with Seth, that's great, or his hair, that'd be welcome as well. So thank you everybody for coming. We'll be back here next week.